When Allah intends to draw someone close, He does not always surround them with people. Often, He removes them from the crowd and places them into solitude. If you are alone, this message is for you. And even if you are surrounded by people yet feel empty inside, stay with these words until the end. This is not meant to deepen your sadness. It is meant to change how you understand it. Solitude is not always punishment. Many times, it is the beginning of closeness. And the pain you are quietly carrying is not being wasted. It is guiding you toward a deeper station, even if you do not yet recognize it. Ibn Arabi speaks of this in a subtle way. He says that Allah does not reveal Himself in noise. Divine nearness is uncovered when distractions fall away. What people call loneliness is often the moment when the heart is finally cleared of everything that kept it busy with other than Allah. Have you ever experienced this state? You are sitting among people, laughter is shared, conversation flows, yet inside there is a hollow space. A space that no joke, no gathering, no relationship seems able to fill. You smile, you respond, but inwardly you are exhausted. You speak, yet what lives inside your chest never reaches your tongue. You stop complaining, not because the pain left, but because it has grown silent. This is a hidden kind of solitude. It is not the solitude of being physically alone. It is the solitude of being unseen. Relationships exist, yet no one truly understands. People come and go, but none reach the heart. Slowly, a person begins to withdraw. Words become fewer. Silence becomes familiar. Smiling becomes a habit. The people of insight say this is the heaviest form of loneliness. When the heart is not understood, a person eventually stops trying to explain it. They carry everything inward and continue living outwardly as a normal person. At this stage, questions arise quietly. Why does this keep happening to me? What did I do wrong? Why do people drift away? Why does no one hear what my heart is saying? And without words, the complaint reaches Allah, not as rebellion, but as a feeling, a tired question, a silent ache. This is the moment when every door feels closed. The ones you trusted no longer understand. The ones you want to speak to feel distant. And a burning question forms in the heart. Why is Allah doing this to me? This question is not disbelief. It is not ingratitude. It is the question of a weary heart. Ibn Arabi would say that such questions arise not because Allah is distant, but because He is drawing near in a way the self does not recognize. Sometimes Allah tests a servant not by harming them, but by inviting them closer. He slowly lowers the volume of the world. He softens the voices of people. He reduces distractions so the heart may finally listen. Notice how it happens. When everyone is present, remembrance feels difficult. But when everyone leaves, the eyes rise toward the sky. When no one is left to hear you, the heart begins to speak to Allah. This is where the meaning of solitude begins to change. But before this understanding settles, a person passes through a painful phase, a phase where they begin to feel unworthy. They think something must be wrong with them, that they are lacking. This is the most fragile moment, the place where a person either breaks or awakens. The masters of the inward path teach that solitude is not weakness, it is preparation. Preparation for recognition. Preparation for a deeper bond. Because closeness to Allah is not built in noise. It is formed in stillness. When a person steps away from everything, they begin to see themselves. And when they see themselves clearly, they begin to see Allah's work within them. This is why when all doors appear closed, one door is quietly opening not outward, but inward. And that door leads toward Allah. At this point, the question changes. It is no longer, why is Allah doing this to me? It becomes, what is Allah teaching me through this? And that question carries us to the next stage, where we begin to understand why Allah separates a person and what secret is hidden inside this solitude. Allah does not remove a person suddenly. He withdraws the noise slowly, the noise of people, of desires, of constant movement, sometimes even the noise of one's own ego, until one day a person feels alone, while in truth they are being chosen. This choosing is painful, but it is not meaningless. Many assume solitude is a sign of Allah's displeasure, that they are being abandoned, that they no longer matter. But Ibn Arabi teaches the opposite. Nearness is often disguised as loss. Where the world retreats, the Lord advances. Allah does not isolate a heart to destroy it. He isolates it to turn it toward Himself. Solitude is attention, a divine gaze, an invitation. When Allah calls a heart, He does not leave it buried in crowds. He separates it, cleans it, and gently places remembrance within it. This process hurts because the heart is attached to people, to habits, to praise. When these are taken away, the heart panics. But solitude is the beginning of purification. In solitude, nothing is hidden. Fears rise, weaknesses appear, real prayers are born. Not the prayers meant to be heard, but the ones meant only for Allah. People may leave by choice, but when Allah makes someone solitary, it is by wisdom. People want you for their needs. Allah separates you for your growth. He knows that the heart He is shaping cannot be completed in noise. When Allah draws a servant into solitude, He is not pushing him away from people. He is pulling him closer to reality. In Ibn Arabi's understanding, distance and closeness are not physical. A person can be surrounded by thousands and still be far. And a person can be alone in a room and be nearer than ever before. This is why solitude feels confusing at first. The heart keeps asking, "What did I lose?" But the soul is being prepared to ask a deeper question. Who was I relying on? When the noise of people fades, something else becomes louder. Your own inner voice. Your fears. Your attachments. Your expectations. This is not punishment. This is unveiling. Ibn Arabi explains that Allah removes supports not to weaken the servant, but to reveal that those supports were never real to begin with. People were means, not anchors. Situations were coverings, not foundations. So, when they fall away, the heart feels exposed. That exposure is frightening, because now there is no distraction between you and yourself. This is why loneliness often comes with restlessness at night. The room is quiet, but the inside is loud. Memories surface. Questions return. Old wounds speak. This is the stage where many people try to escape solitude. They fill it with noise, screens, conversations, movement. But Ibn Arabi would say, do not rush to cover what Allah has uncovered, because what is rising now is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to be seen. Solitude forces the servant to meet his own dependence, not on people, but on meaning. You begin to notice something subtle. When no one is watching, your intentions become clearer. Your prayers become quieter but more honest. Your words reduce. Your listening increases. This is not withdrawal from life. This is return to center. In Ibn Arabi's language, this is when the servant begins to recognize that Allah is closer than every created closeness, but was previously hidden behind habit and familiarity. The pain you feel is not because Allah left. It is because the illusion of separation is being removed. This is why solitude often comes with tears that have no clear story. You are not crying about a person. You are not crying about a situation. You are grieving the loss of false reliance. And that grief is necessary. Because as long as the heart depends on created things for completeness, It cannot witness the source. Slowly, something shifts. You stop explaining yourself to people who cannot hear you. You stop chasing understanding from those who only know surfaces. You stop performing emotions. You begin to sit with yourself. And in that sitting, a strange thing happens. The silence that once felt empty starts to feel held, not by people, but by presence. This is where Ibn Arabi points to a secret most people miss. Allah speaks most clearly when the servant stops demanding answers, not in words, but in stability. The heart becomes less reactive, less desperate, less scattered. You still feel alone but not abandoned, because now solitude is no longer absence. It is space. Space where the servant begins to sense that Allah was never distant, only unheard. This is also why Ibn Arabi says that true companionship is not found by increasing relationships, but by purifying perception. When perception changes, even loneliness changes its meaning. You realize that people leaving was not rejection. It was redirection, not toward isolation, but toward inward sight. And this inward sight cannot be learned in crowds. It must be grown in stillness. This is why solitude feels heavy before it feels sacred. Why silence feels sharp before it feels gentle. Why emptiness feels threatening before it feels full. The servant is being emptied so that something truer can remain. Not identity, not roles, not expectations, but presence. And this is where the real test begins. Because solitude does not automatically bring closeness. It only offers the opportunity. What determines the outcome is not the solitude itself, but how the heart responds to it. Does it resist, or does it listen? When the heart begins to forgive, something subtle happens. The weight does not disappear from the world. It disappears from inside. And when the inside becomes lighter, the nearness of Allah is felt without effort. This is not because circumstances change, but because perception changes. The servant stops reacting to every silence, stops waiting for validation, stops measuring his worth through attention. He learns that not every quiet is rejection. Some quiets are invitations. Some spaces are not meant to be filled by people. They are meant to remain empty, so that only Allah can occupy them. This is where the meaning of solitude transforms. Loneliness does not end, but its poison does. Silence remains, but fear leaves it. The servant is still alone, yet no longer fractured, because now there is reliance. Not imagined reliance, but rooted reliance. The pain that once whispered, "You are forgotten," loses its authority. In its place arrives a quiet certainty. Allah knows. Allah sees. Allah is present. And this certainty does not shout. It settles. This is the final turning point. The servant realizes that he was never abandoned. He was selected. Because abandonment produces numbness, but selection produces awareness. If Allah had turned away, the heart would not ache this deeply. It would not question. It would not seek. This restlessness is not distance. It is movement toward nearness. What was lost now appears differently. People who left were never permanent. Supports that collapsed were never foundational. The real support only appeared after everything else fell. Because Allah is not fully recognized in fullness. He is recognized in emptiness. When the servant stands with empty hands, an unguarded heart, and eyes no longer expecting rescue from creation, that is when recognition happens. And once recognition happens, loss no longer terrifies. Not because nothing can be lost, but because nothing essential is missing. the heart becomes steady, not hard, not indifferent, but anchored. Silence stops cutting. It starts holding. The servant no longer scans doors, no longer trembles at absence, no longer collapses under neglect. Problems may still exist, but the heart is no longer smaller than them. The question shifts, not who do I not have, but who remains? And when the answer is Allah, the heart settles without argument. This is a peace no gathering can give, no reassurance can produce, no explanation can replace. This is not the acceptance of fate alone. This is the acceptance of placement. The servant understands, I am here because this is where I am meant to be. This acceptance is not passive. It is trust. And trust is the deepest form of rest. Now, only one thing remains in the heart: certainty. Certainty that Allah knows. Certainty that Allah sees. Certainty that what unfolded did not unfold randomly. This certainty does not arrive through one prayer. It arrives through the entire journey, breaking, waiting, listening, surrendering. And this certainty strengthens the servant, without hardening him, without emptying him of feeling. If these words resonated, if something within you recognized them without explanation, know this: you are not alone. You are moving. This path is not unique to you, but few understand it while walking it. And remember this: solitude does not end in solitude. When the heart stops running from it, if the servant pauses in the right place, with the right understanding, solitude resolves into peace, into acceptance, into nearness. And when Allah is found, loss no longer defines the heart.